All right, and welcome to the East County Prep Football Report for Week 3 of the football season with Dave Dickens. I'm Ramon Scott. We've got a great previews set up, Dave, a full card of action here. Not every team's in action this week, but I think all but one, I think. Here we're going to preview all the games, talk about what's going on in East County football. Dave, what a week last week. I know hopefully you guys joined us on our post-game show. If you don't know about that, make sure you're joining us here on the East County Sports Network for that post-game show, Dave, every week following the games. You and I get together and go over the games here after the games. We'll cover a little bit of that here today for sure, but not a big deal, right? We're going to just give our predictions here really for the action here and channel your dad here, Dave, and talk East County football, talk Grossmont Conference football. What's going on?
Oh yeah, and not to mention, maybe we'll get to pull out our bus out of the garage here soon and talk to a few of them. Maybe we'll get some winners, and we do have two going out of, really going out of town. We got one going to the state of Washington. In Seattle rains a lot. And then we got another team going to the opposite where it doesn't rain at all and it's just pure desert. So, and we're talking about the Eagles going to Gilbert, Arizona to face Perry. That's going to be huge. And then also Christian needs to get on track. I mean, they won the first one, but they need to get back on track after last week. Taking one on the chin, and we really didn't expect that to happen. And but that'll be kind of neat. You know, they get to go out there and see some of the sights in Seattle. Been out there quite a few times myself. It's not just Seattle, but the outskirts of Tacoma, Washington. There's Weston. There's the SeaTac area. It's pretty nice as long as it's not raining, which is 100% of the time. So they're going to be playing mud ball, I think, this weekend.
Oh yeah, man, those will be some two crazy trips there. That's the farthest that Christian has ever traveled for a game. We know they've been to a few locales. I think they've been to Utah and Nevada as well, but going all the way up there. Remember a couple of years ago, a team from Alaska came down to play Christian. Remember that? Soldotna came to play there. So, all right. Well, hey, let's get into it. Let's talk some high school football. Thanks to everybody in the chat. We want to hear from you in the chat on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, wherever you're watching the show. Just want to hear what team you're representing. Give us your picks, anything you want. Interact with Dave and I. We're just so happy to be able to do this type of programming for you and give all the kids their just due here, I think, this season. So let's not waste any time and get into it. We got a lot of games to go over here, and maybe we can get rolling. You mentioned it, Dave. Granite Hills, our marquee matchup here this week. They're going to, you said, Gilbert, Arizona to take on Perry here, the Perry Jaguars. Remember what happened last year, Dave? Perry came in here. You and I were talking a bunch of trash about this Eagles team, and hey, the Eagles were great last year, no doubt, Division I champs, but Perry came in and they beat him pretty good, actually, there. So looks like this team has more. The number 2 ranked Eagles are clearly the top team in the East County now after Mount McGill kind of took a hard one there last week to La Costa Canyon. It feels like the Eagles, we know they've been number 1 in the East County really for the last couple of seasons, but right now it feels like our team, right, as far as the open division contenders. They'll be in a tough battle, though. They've got to go to Gilbert, a top 20 team in Arizona. They won their opener last week, Dave, 34-30 in a wild game against Boulder Creek, Arizona. The game was back and forth all night. Really, if anything, was not a great. It was a win for Perry, but I think they were supposed to win a little more convincingly than that one. They scored the decisive touchdown in the final minute to get away with a win. The Jaguars rushed for 229 yards and 5 touchdowns. But, Dave, the Eagles come in 2-0. We have them ranked second in our poll. I think our poll is actually more accurate than the ratings, the other poll, if you will. I know maybe a little bit of homer here, but come on, Dave, with this offense right now that the Eagles have, not only the incredible passing game. I mean, how many weapons do they have? Dave, 7 different Eagles have scored receiving touchdowns this year.
And how about Brody, second string quarterback, got in there and got a couple of snaps, and it got he got 3 or 4 good runs that made some good yards. I think he might have been even averaging 7 yards a run, and also did a wildcat type deal and scored on a direct snap.
Granite Hills has looked the part of a CIF Open Division contender thus far. Right now, Dave, I think there are 6 teams competing for the 4 spots. I know it's only week 3, but you look at the records, you look at those 6 teams, what they've been doing the last couple of years. I'm talking about, of course, Lincoln. You've got to think they're going to be there, number 1. They're the one playing the toughest schedule in the county. Our Granite Hills Eagles, but from there, you got Cathedral Catholic. They're kind of number 2 right now in everybody else's poll. I have them down there at number 5 because I like the quarterback at Mission Hills. I like Carlsbad as a team, and the other team I think is La Costa Canyon. Now, there are some other teams that are 2-0, including Rancho Bernardo, Poway, Torrey Pines, kind of in the top 10. But I think it's 6 teams for the 4 slots this season: Lincoln, Granite, Mission Hills, Carlsbad, Cathedral Catholic, and La Costa Canyon. Dave, last year when Perry came in, they beat our Eagles 39-21. It was just one of 3 losses the Eagles had all year, but I think the Eagles look more explosive than last year with the stable of receivers they have. Tristan Diaz has 17 receptions already. Noah Walker, we talked about his impact. He's only had 4 receptions. There are some guys, I say only. We had one of the biggest plays of the season so far in a long touchdown, but they have some other guys too, and they've been pretty terrific have the Eagles so far, Dave.
Well, let's not take any credit away from the line that's been keeping Benitez upright pretty much always. I mean, like I said, he could have a cup of tea and have one of those biscottis while he's back there. He's got so much time, so he's got the big fellas up there holding the line, and then he's got the option of a couple of backs that have been coming up through the ranks too. So, but not only the offense, I think they're a complete team. I think their special teams has been really good, especially the return. They've had a couple of good returns, and then the defense, especially if you look at the Crusaders and the yardage that they achieved against that defense, they were definitely not able to run much. And they were just little dinks and dunks as far as passing against that secondary. So it looks to me like definitely a no-fly zone for the Eagles in the secondary, and they have some big dudes coming off the edge. They're gonna give Perry a run for their money. I'll tell you that. This isn't the same team, and I hope Perry doesn't think that they're going into this one thinking we're going to do the same thing, because I think this Eagle team is complete 100%.
For sure. And, we said this last year, so people may have caught it or may have remembered, but Perry is where Brock Purdy was there. I mean, this game is Saturday at 7 p.m. Over there, but Brock Purdy was a signal caller way back when, and I say way back when, it wasn't that long ago, but their quarterback now is Cale Snyder. He threw for 200 yards in the opener, but they had a big running game, did Perry, in that season opener as well. So I don't know, Dave. I think Perry comes in, Granite Hills goes in there to take on Perry, and maybe because Perry's at home, it'll be a closer game. I just feel like this offense with Zach with another year right now, maybe I'm just too high on the Eagles right now. I love what I see, and I think they're going to win this game. I think they could win by a couple of touchdowns. I hope they do. I know Perry, a real tough team. They're ranked 21st in Arizona by Max Preps. They're ranked 18th in Arizona by HS Ratings, the former Cal Preps site. So that's a good team. But I mean, you look at Granite Hills, they're in Max Preps 33rd in California. And that's California, which is a much stronger state, deep, depth wise with the team. So I think the Eagles are better. I think they got stunned there last year. I think they may have been reading their own clippings last year a little bit. And when you're still facing a good team that is traveling in, you're facing one of the better teams in the region from those areas. So I think the Eagles just got caught flat-footed a little bit last year. Maybe that won't happen this year when they go on the road to take them on.
Yeah, and I think as Kellen, I think Kellen gets he just gets better and better each year that he put. I mean, he got his 100th win last season, and I think he's just done a phenomenal job each year. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's got a big group and a wide open area to choose from. Not to mention a lot of folks don't know about Alpine, but Granite Hills does get quite a few great athletes from the Alpine area, and I just think this is the year of the Eagle, if you will, and I'm going to take Granite Hills by, I'm going to agree, 2 touchdowns, maybe even more. I just think that they're ready to rock and roll, whether it's 100 degrees or 89 degrees. I think they're going to be good to go, and they're going to turn up their heat on that offense, and I think they're going to score a lot and often, and I mean it could be field goals too. We got to see what that defense is. But you were saying that they had that running game, but if they're anything like Mater Dei was, they're going to plug those holes up so quickly. They're going to be forced to be one-dimensional with the passing game. So yeah, I got Eagles by 2 touchdowns.
You mentioned the defense, and it's not all about offense with the Eagles, but Braden Wells is one of the best players so far defensively in the county. But watch out for Hunter Hamilton, a team high 9 total tackles. He's really been a guy who's been in on a lot of plays, got a lot of assists there as well. But the Eagles haven't recorded a sack yet so far this season. Maybe they haven't needed to, but Wells has been great there, and you also have another Vance out there, Logan Vance, a senior. So, all right, go Eagles and bring home a victory from Arizona. Get them back. I mean, they came in and, like I said, they really – remember, we were so surprised that the Perry team came in and kind of, they really did a number on them. Okay.
Flip their wings.
All right, next up, we're going to go roll here a little bit with the top teams in the county in number 11 here. We moved Mount Miguel out of our top 10 here at this point. Look, they were up against a juggernaut last week. We're not burying the Matadors at all, but they were humbled at home by open division contender La Costa Canyon, certainly one of the top 6 teams, if not top 4 teams right now in the county. The Mavericks are terrific with Roth, their quarterback. Mount Miguel's passing game, Dave, their previous quarterback, he left the program to go to Hawaii, to move back to Hawaii. He's going to be getting ready for college. He's going to be, remember, last year he was a pretty good quarterback there, AJ Stowers, but he went back home to Hawaii. So, the Matadors are trying to plug it. Loper had a great first game, but the passing game just wasn't as explosive as we've seen from the Matadors since they've been rising here to the top of the Grossmont, with Granite Hills and the like here. So the defense also struggled against the Mavericks, though. The Mavericks scored on pretty much every possession, the first, I think, 6 or 7 possessions in the game. They're going to take on here the Loyola Cubs, Dave. These 2 teams met last year in Spring Valley, and the Cubs came in and beat them in a thriller last year. The Cubs are 1-1 right now. They beat Milliken last week, 35-25. They did lose to Cathedral of Los Angeles, 36-24. This Loyola team prefers to run the ball. They've rushed for 400 yards and passed for 200 so far this season. But last year, the Cubs came in and beat the Matadors in Spring Valley in a thrilling game that went down to the finish, but Loyola took away the victory.
Well, yeah, we had the Matadors a lot higher at the beginning of the season before they played their first game. I think Coach V does have them ready to go, but as I had told you at the beginning of the season and even after the first game, La Casa Canyon I think is it a strong number two behind Lincoln for sure. Um, so you got to give credit where credit's due, and I think Mount McGill was ready, but I just think that La Casa Canyon team has so many weapons, and they're a strong number two, and I think losing Sowers at the quarterback position has really affected that passing game, uh, and I think they're going to have to be forced to to run the ball a bit more, um, maybe come up with a couple of trick plays or maybe some out routes just to get down the field and to compete. But the last two meetings, I mean, it's looking to me, and especially if they're going up to Los Angeles, I'm gonna give the edge to Loyola, and I'm gonna say Coach V has his guys ready. And you remember you talked to him, and how hard they work each and every week. Um, as a matter of fact, he said that he probably works harder. He didn't even say probably. He said that they work harder than any team uh, as far as their workouts and getting prepared and practiced up for their opponents. So I expect them to be ready, but I'm going to say that this Loyola team's going to edge up the Matadors, and I'm going to say it's going to be a 21-14 game.
Dave, Matadors were certainly probably distracted last week before the game. There was an actual lockdown on the campus before the game. There was a just an on-campus incident. It wasn't like a one that you think of with a gun threat, or it was a threat. There was a fight on campus. Some kids, I think, got into it, and maybe one was saying, "Oh, whatever." So that had to affect them. In fact, the JV game was played with a running clock because that put everything so far behind Mount McGill. They didn't release the lockdown until close to, I believe, maybe 5 o'clock or so. So you can imagine trying to get ready for a game and everything. That's why the Mariners came out totally flat against LCC in the game. So I think they even delayed the game a half an hour to get it going. So Mount McGill last year was final score against Loyola was 46-38. Loyola got the win, but the Matadors in that game passed for 481 yards. They really didn't run the ball very much at all. They did have 21 carries, but Arrington had an 80-yard touchdown in the game. A.J. Logan had 3 touchdowns. These are guys on the team right now. So, look, they can come in and certainly match points. And Loyola's going to bring in a pretty good threat as well here. I say bring in a threat. I mean, they're at Loyola, but what'll probably happen in a game like this, and Mount McGill made a trip last year up north too, last season, so they're familiar with going up to the Los Angeles area to play a game, but it may just come down to the wire, it feels like here, and I think Mount McGill feels like they should, win this game, but this Loyola team is pretty good for sure. So they'll have to prove that they've closed the gap by winning this one on the road. If they can overtake them, right? You lost to them at home. Yes, that was a tough loss last week against an elite team. So I think people might be looking past again the Matadors here right now. It's going to be hard to get back into the open division race, quite frankly, unless they really maybe sweep it and beat the Eagles and stuff like that. But if they can turn it around, a team that came in and beat them last year, go on the road and beat them, I think that's a positive again going forward again for the Matadors, and we'll be back on the rise with the Matadors. So okay, I'm going to take Loyola as well, Dave, but I think it comes down the wire. Maybe Loyola gets a walk-off. Maybe the Matadors get a walk-off. I've got it like a 1-touchdown game, and I think the Matadors can win. But since they lost at home last year, and there is some question marks. Don't worry, they've got a quarterback waiting in the wings. Just got to get him going here. But Loper's in there, and they can do the job with him right now. This is going to be a close game, and I'm going to take Loyola by a touchdown. Okay, Dave. Well, got to talk about. We're going in the order of the rankings kind of here right now, and maybe I did it because I could talk about Helix without having to bury him at the end of the show. But look at this. This is one of the oldest, one of the classic non-league rivalries in the county. Both teams come in 0-2. This is our gauntlet series that I call it anyway. I'm the only one who calls it that, but they've kind of fizzled here with both teams coming in winless. Because of the modest decline of the Saints, Dave, they were able to take an 0-11 season last year and win the Division Four section championship. Uh, this year, the Saints have lost to get this La Costa Canyon and Del Norte. So we'll see what happens here with Saints coming in. Helix lost last week to Castile 51-14. They, of course, lost their opener to number 12 El Camino. This is probably as low as Helix's ranking has been. Now, I will say this, they are a little bit higher. I have them lower than uh, Max Preps. I have them lower than the UT. And maybe I'm just, because I'm a Highlander, like I said, maybe I have a higher standards here. But the Highlanders usually muster up a strong running game to free up the pass. But right now, Helix just isn't running that well. Still, Lee Norman Lester has done a nice job so far, but it just feels like the offense just hasn't quite get going yet. So at least they're at home, Dave, against Saints.
Well, and then the Saints quarterback, Vincent Smith, is thrown for 217 yards for the Saints. Pi Polamalu has 147 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. And as you mentioned, I mean, Helix had losses against El Camino and Castile, and they're ranked number 17 in Arizona. So they're not playing any patsies, if you will, but
right.
Helix has always played the top ranked teams, and they've always had these different teams either coming in from out of state or they've gone out of state. They've had quite a few of those. I think always to prepare them for the Tough Hills League, but I don't even think kind of think of it. Since they changed it to the Grossmont Hills and Valley, I don't think Helix has ever been switched over to the Valley. Maybe back in when it was a 2A and 3A setup, might have been.
I think Helix has always been the big. I think they've always been in the big. Remember a day before the rise of the Eagle. I mean, Helix was carrying the banner for the conference, really, even though we've had some great teams. El Cap had that magical year, of course, go to the state championship game and all that. But, Helix hasn't had this kind of spell right now. I mean, hard to believe here, Dave, actually, that Helix is basically, 5-10 in their last 15 games straight up.
Well, they got to, like you said, it's the obvious things to happen, and they need to get that passing game going because obviously the running game is not getting it done. I don't know if it's been a protection thing for Lester back there, but or maybe we need to change up the playbook a little bit and dump some off to the backs and get some of those receivers to block. If you have to add him to the line or something, or a tight end, because they got to do something, give him some time, and so he can possibly launch a few. I remember at the our preseason we were talking about with the coach, and he was talking about how he did have a pretty good pair of legs, and they would be utilized, but he'd rather him step up in the pocket and throw the ball. But hey, you got to do what you got to do at this point. You're 0-2, possibility of going 0-3. You got to pretty much put it all out on the field. So
I don't mind. Go ahead, make the pick. Yeah.
Yeah. So with that being said, I wanted to go with Saints, but because it is at Helix, and Helix always have good showing as far as just like Granite Hills does. They'll have the full bleachers, and they'll have the crowd noise, and it'll far outweigh the Saints. and I think this is one of those games that they have to win, and they're aware of that. So I'm actually going to say that Leicester gets going, and the passing game gets going, and I'm going to actually go out on a limb, and I'm going to say 28-21 myself. Helix.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you too. I'm going to go Helix here by a touchdown. Norman Lester, and Jake Williams have been a good combination there for Helix. I think we're going to see the same thing from Saints. They might have a real bad regular season again and end up with a decent seeding in the way the San Diego section conducts their playoffs. And I don't know, maybe they'll win another section title with a dismal regular season record. We'll see. I don't think they can beat some of these teams that they're going to face. So I think Helix better get this win. The Max Preps rankings have them at 12th. The UT have them still riding there close to the top 10. I'm the one that says 22. So prove me wrong. I don't want to make the Highlanders mad. I mean, I'm a Highlander, but I've seen every team here. I've seen every Highlander team pretty much from about 1980. That's how when I started following high school football at 12 years old, going to Helix games there, walking to them, all walking over that bridge over Highway 8, walking to the games. Mom, can you drive me to the games? I'm 13. I want to go see Helix football. Even before I was in high school, watching some of those great players like Jim Plum. Okay.
I was doing the same.
Yeah.
And I was doing the same thing, standing with your former boss and colleague, my dad, Bill Dickens, on the sidelines since I was about 10 years old watching the Highlanders. So definitely some quality, great teams. One that comes to mind that some people might even got not heard of is Jeff Hammerschmidt. That dates pretty back to the mid-'80s behind center.
Shout out Jeff Hammerschmidt. If he's Dave, we were Jeff and I took a course where you'd work. You'd walk to it like for 2 hours or something, right? We'd walk to Sportland. Remember in the old Gemco shopping center, Jeff Hammerschmidt and I, and we'd go to, and they'd put us to work in there, like folding a high. Remember they sold all the team colors, and you'd go get the green shorts for PE at Helix, the yellow for El Cap, and you have to go to Sportland to get and Jeff and I, our job was to fold all the high school teams and put them all out there and display them. Man, and Jeff still working hard there, doing some coaching still. I hope he sees this. And all right, let's keep rolling here and strolling down memory lane. Dave, we got to go to number 24 here, Steel Canyon. My goodness, the Tigers, they're going to rock the Tigers here, the Cougars. They're going to rock the Tigers here in a cat battle here on Friday night. They're going to dominate this game. It's not even going to be close. But, man, Steel Canyon, they've got to be kind of the talk of the town here, it feels like, Dave. They're close to they're in the top 25 in our poll right now, going 2-0. And you know what? They might be better than Helix right now, the way they're going, especially with Nico Yara. Dave, we've talked about Nico. He's scored running the punt back. He's scored running the kickoff back. He's scored as a receiver. Last week, he tackled the guy for a safety. I mean, he's done it all. There's not some kind of grand salami or something?
Well, I think it was huge to definitely to knock off Madison after the previous 2 times of being at the short end, and I think that made a big statement. Steel Canyon has not just a win over them, but they also have a nice win over Ramona, and it's been working behind last year's quarterback also, superstar Gavin Caja, running back Abel Lopez, and wide receiver Malcolm Ballard. So I don't know. Morse really hasn't been that Morse team of the past, so it could turn into a cat fight, but I don't think so. I think that that the Cougars are going to have this one, and Morse, they're bounced back from an opening week loss to Sweetwater, and they won that one over on Orange Glen 41-0. And who's it? Superior Garter has 150 passing yards, 183 yards rushing, and 50 receiving yards.
Oh my
So
God. He throw the
I
ball
tell
to
you,
himself?
I'm telling you, I think Steel Canyon's I think uh, they're the silent team that no one's thinking about. We talk about Granite Hills, we talk about Mount McGill, but they better be aware Steel Canyon's making a statement, and they have a very, very good possibility of getting their third in a row, and they're going to be on the tail of Granite Hills, knocking on the door. And we all know how those two face off against each other. It doesn't matter how good one or the other is. Some of those have ended up in a 1 point game or 1 second on the clock and a long kick or a short kick. Uh, we could talk all day about how Granite and Steel Canyon go when they go head to head. But in this one, I'm definitely going to say Steel Canyon by at least 5 touchdowns. No question over Morse.
Yeah, for sure. 4 or 5 touchdown win here, I would think, for Steel Canyon. Yeah, we've seen Morris. I mean, look, they've been competitive a little bit in the past with teams like Christian, played some playoff games against them as well. But does feel like right now, Steel Canyon. Look, I'm not saying they've had some rough seasons here. They've definitely kind of beat the teams they're supposed to beat, just struggled against the better teams. But right now, it feels like this is kind of maybe the best team in the last couple of years. Let's see how it works out for Steel Canyon. We'll have to keep an eye on them.
Well, I think
Okay.
one more thing on that. I mean, the last time Steel Canyon was heading in this direction was quite a few years ago when we had Fishburne, the fish, behind center, and he took them all the way to the championship. We all know at that nice Southwestern Stadium. Uh, but I think that was the last time that they were real competitive. But this team looks like they're headed in that direction.
Yep. Great job so far, Steel Canyon. Okay, you mentioned in the open, Dave, that Christian was going to go on the road to Seattle to take on the Kings Knights. The Patriots were shut down by Bishops last week, 21-7. The fact that they managed just 7 points against their section rival, if you will, has to be a little bit of a concern. But now Christian will take the longest road trip in program history up to Seattle. We talked to Christian, remember, at the beginning of the season about the trip. Seemed like they were really looking forward to it. Now, Kings is a top 100 team in the state of Washington. That would mean that the Christian Patriots are the better team on paper in the ratings, if you will, the national rankings. Christian will be higher, but I think the fact that they have to travel all that way and that they're on the road, I think that kind of equals equals the playing field here a little bit. Going up to Seattle. The other thing is we just don't know what Kings has in store. They haven't played a game yet, but we do know a little bit about their history, and this is kind of where they're ranked. So sounds like it's going to be a close game and a good test for Christian that, quite frankly, needs tough tests if they're going to be able to compete in the league that they're in this year.
No pun intended, but with the Kings Knights, it definitely will be a bit of a chess match with these two going head to head. And I also talking to Robert Davila, the former quarterback's father of 3 seasons ago, played real well. He is also the statistician. He was talking about going on the road and where they're playing Christian High's current superintendent ex school. So the Christian High superintendent, it's his school at Kings up in Seattle.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that ought to be pretty interesting. But
That's
I
how
think
they get up with the match, probably.
I'm sure. That was kind of interesting to find out. And this will give the Patriots time to, kind of bond together, go see the sights and kind of get a little loose. And then come game time, they'll be focused and ready to go because At this time, they got to get this win on the road if they want to really compete in this new league that's much tougher than what they've been.
And just for some context, so the Kings Knights made it to their divisional playoff, and they're not in the top divisions. They're, like I said, they're 100th. So, but they did lose their opening round playoff game. Just trying to put some perspective for everyone, see what you think. So, I think Christian goes on there and wins a close game. Dave, I'll take them by a touchdown here. I think they'll be disappointed if they don't win this game. I mean, that's
Yeah,
obvious. You know what I mean? I think they feel like, even if I'm kind of rating it like Christian's probably a little bit better, they should win. I think they will be more surprised if they lose than maybe I would.
well, and we saw the confidence, in one of their big leaders at when we did our previews, and that was Runkle at quarterback position. He seemed pretty positive about the new league and being able to compete with these top teams. Um, I mean, we've seen him. He's pretty quick on his feet. He's got good vision, and he gets outside the pocket, and he does real well. And then he's got uh, not to mention Kai that he goes to, which is one of his main targets, and then the younger, and now what is this, three Moronis now that we're talking about that have played at Christian High. Maybe this younger Moronis will get an opportunity, and maybe he'll make a name for himself as well. But I think that Runkle turns it around. He leads his team to victory. I'm going to say the same thing by a touchdown.
Yeah, and make no mistake, Bishops, we have them ranked 15th in our poll, Dave. That's pretty good. Christian is right now a little outside that for sure, where we have them, especially after the loss right now. We have Christian here currently, I think 31st. So you can see the difference between Bishops and Christian right now. Bishops, pretty good team. Tough game there. Christian played pretty well defensively, but okay, we'll take him here. Christian come home with a win from
Maybe
Seattle.
we'll be able to talk to him on the bus, possibly
Or the
on
plane.
or on the plane or at the hotel. Who knows? I mean, we did the Norseman at the hotel, so who knows where we'll find him.
Dave, one of the best stories and best starts here right now in the East County has to belong to the Santana Sultans. Coach Estes does such a great job keeping us informed, and one of our best programs for participating with us. But man, they're confident. I know they thought they were going to, and I know they probably had played two teams that they should beat here. But man, it just feels good right now. I've moved them into the top 40 teams in the county after back-to-back wins to open the season. They beat Crawford, and Crawford's pretty steady. And they beat them 14-7 on the road last week. So, Santana has one of the East County's rising two-way stars. In fact, he's our thumbnail, Dave, on this video. Your man, Coco Thornton, the junior, he's the pulse of the Sultans so far with a team-high 13 receptions. He's also forced a pair of fumbles. He has an interception so far on defense. He's cleaning up the snack bar after the game. He closes the gates, that ramp, he closes it. He does it all with the Sultans. So I think against the Hilltop team that lost to the Sultans last season, 37-14 in Santee. You can see where this one's going. I mean, Hilltop might have looked like maybe they schedule. Hey, we want more wins. We know Santana kind of likes to, I want to say, pile up the wins. They don't not favored in every game, but they might have taken a different opponent or a closer game. I think Santana gonna handle Hilltop here for sure.
Yeah, and I think Evan is, they were talking about how they were having the quarterback competition. They didn't know who they were going to go with, but Evan has really showed up, doing pretty well back there. And you got to remember, there a lot of these kids coming back are juniors now, and they got a little more experience. And I not like last year where they were a much younger team and they only had like 3 or 4 seniors. So I think it's very much experience in the coaching, has been fantastic, and they got so many leaders that we got to meet with for the preview for the season started.
Yeah, Ethan Miller,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Great job here by Santana so far. Now Hilltop, uh, so far, for the Lancers, they do have a win so far this season, but I just was over the Braves actually, Dave, 29-7 last week. Mentioned the Braves. I said, hey, they've got 5 games that they can win. To start, we'll talk about the Braves in a little bit, but Hilltop kind of handled the Braves last week, 29-7. So I think the Sultans win this one, Dave, by close, probably 4 touchdowns, I would think.
I would say 4 or even more myself. I think the Sultans are on their way to really competing, and we talked about it at the beginning of the season too. It could be 4 teams that could be playing in that valley and competing for the league championship. Could even be a couple in the playoffs, but or as you call it, it's like a tournament now these days.
Yeah, but in the Valley League, I'm going to go right now. If I had to make, I know we're going to have a few more weeks. Maybe we'll make some predictions, but I'll say Grossmont right now. Santana and Monte Vista right now. I don't know if I can separate the two, and then from there, I think West Hills is the fourth, kind of the fourth team right now. But I would say Grossmont and then Santana and Monte Vista. I'm not sure I can separate them. Maybe Santana is 2-0. We saw Monte Vista fall, so let's get to Monte Vista. Maybe that'll help us figure it out right now. We're on Santana for sure. Okay, Monte Vista here. Look. Dave, they should be 2-0. I feel like they probably should have won that game last week. Not that Kearney didn't come in and do a great job. I just think that for Monte Vista, they had to think that the way they played that first game that they could beat Kearney at home. Kearney did a great job. They looked very disciplined out there. The Monarchs uncharacteristically stumbled last week, losing to Kearney in overtime 12-6. So their improved offense from game one against Crawford. We just mentioned Crawford, right? Kind of compare it. They did a great job, whereas Santana also did, but they just couldn't get it going against Kearney. And I think Kearney isn't as good as Crawford. So, anyways, Monte Vista should be a considerable favorite here, Dave, against Castle Park. Castle Park lost to Army Navy last week, 49-6. We'll talk about Army Navy playing one of our teams, Valhalla, here this week. And also, Castle Park beat Victory Christian by just 20-14. Victory Christian, not very highly rated, but they did beat them there. Last week, Rashawn Florence had a touchdown reception. He also started the game by forcing a fumble. But Monte Vista won last year, Dave, 35-19 over Castle Park at home. And I'm not sure that Castle Park is much better here. Monte Vista is going to be looking to get back to some confidence. That was a rough one last week.
Well, let's not forget too what the Monte Vista team did last year, and a lot of them returned this year. But I mean, they were 5-5 at the end of the season, and then they went on to win a Division 5 championship, and that was just by a lottery number, if you will, somebody dropping out. And so I think Monte Vista, I think they're an even better team than last year, and I think they've got a little bit of experience under their belt as well. And I think that offense is going to get better as the season progresses. We already had a good defense because we know how Coach Colbert has been. We know the culture at Monte Vista and behind those great defenses. But I think he's put together a pretty good offensive plan as well, and a mix of the run and the pass. And I think Derek Taylor's going to get only better.
I'm going to take Monte Vista by a couple of touchdowns here. Look, they beat them by 16 last year at home. We got to go on the road here a little bit, but I think, as opposed to what happened with Kearney, I think the run game will be very good here for Monte Vista against Castle Park.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely take Monte Vista by a pair of touchdowns too myself.
Okay, Dave. Big time concern here right now is the El Capitan Vaqueros were shut out again last week, Dave. For the first time in 10 years, they suffered back to back shutouts. You mentioned last week it was Valhalla and Grossman, I believe, that shut them out. Get this, it's also the first time that El Capitan has suffered consecutive shutouts to open the season in 50 years. In 1975, El Capitan was shut out in the first 4 games of the season. They actually started to turn around at that point. I know we're talking about 50 years ago. Even I was just a toddler. But they kind of turned it around at that point, got the program going a little bit for some wins. And they have a beatable opponent here, unfortunately. Dave, El Capitan lost to Chula Vista last year in Lakeside 35-21 in this same week 3. And Chula Vista looks okay here this season. Fortunately for El Capitan, they've got a terrific defense that has kept them in both games. Against Mira Mesa last week, it was only 3-0 at halftime, and then Mira Mesa scored its decisive touchdown there in the fourth quarter for an 11-0 win. When El Capitan won their opener there against Montgomery, or lost the opener Montgomery. They had just 166 yards of offense in a 14-0 loss last week. I kind of got it confused there. That was Mira Mesa that they lost to 11-0 in the opener. I think I mentioned it that way, and then lost to Montgomery last week 14-0. So got to turn it around here against Chula Vista. I think they should, but this is another game where they've got to get going, man. Let's just score first and worry about winning. Let's score and win, but you know what I mean.
Well, I mentioned I think they should have used the running game a little more exclusively, as Benegas was not very effective against the secondary, and it wasn't so much the coverage either. Some of those balls were not thrown quite where they should be, but let's look at last year too. They won their first game, and then they went on. I think it was a 3 or 4 game losing streak, and El Capitan ended up winning. They put together a big winning streak to end up on top at the end, and or they got a playoff spot at any rate. So I don't know. It's almost looking like a carbon copy so far from last year, but at least they already had a win on the board. But this definitely is a winnable game. But I'm going to, just from what I've seen, and I watched the entire game, and what I saw from the offense, until I see some points put on the board, and I mean a couple of touchdowns, I'm going to take Chula Vista by at least 2 touchdowns.
Spencer Chastain has been the star of the Vaqueros so far. He has 7 receptions for 71 yards and 12 total tackles on defense so far this season. The Spartans lost to a very good La Jolla Country Day team by just 9, 30-21 in their home opener, and then they won at Bonita Vista last week. Ironically, that's El Cap's next opponent, so kind of keep an eye on that. But I'm gonna have to go with Chula Vista here right now, Dave. El Cap needs to score. They need to win. I need them to win. You need them to win. We need to see a win out of the Vaqueros, but they couldn't beat them last year. And the way they're going right now, boy, I'm going to have to take Chula Vista here by about a field goal or so.
Yeah, Coach Berner usually he'll get him to bounce back. He does like to throw the ball, as history has shown. But I think this time, if we keep it on the ground, just to get a couple of scores in and be able to keep it close. I think if they keep it close, they have a shot. But again, I still say that Chula Vista is going to take this one.
All right, next up, Dave. An interesting game, a good game here, but the Army-Navy Warriors come in here. They are really one of the best small school teams, especially defensively right now. The Norsemen will be at home in this one, but Army-Navy's off to another great start. They might have lost their big superstar, but they're still a pretty strong team. They were in Vegas last week, and they beat the Meadows School 49-22, or in week one, and then they clobbered Castle Park last week is what they did, 49-6. So it just shows you what we're talking about with Castle Park. This Army-Navy team throttled them. The Norsemen opened with that week one win against San Jacinto Valley. And look, maybe it was a setup opponent there. They got a good win over them. And last week, they didn't play terrible against Mira Mesa. Mira Mesa is just a pretty good team right now, much better than Valhalla. It was 28-8, but Valhalla kind of held their own there a little bit. Mira Mesa right now, they are a kind of a top 40 team. I think I have ranked 28th. Right now. So for Valhalla, Giacomo, our man, Giacomo Lupo, he rushed for a touchdown the second quarter. Valhalla trailed just 10-8 at halftime of that game. And also Lupo had 11 total tackles. Jackson Newman rushed for 78 yards, but the Valhalla passing game couldn't get it going against Mira Mesa. Watch out for Valhalla's Zachary Hagar. He recorded 2.5 sacks in the game against Mira Mesa. He's the real deal on defense. Unfortunately, Dave, Army-Navy is also the real deal. They are in our top 40 right now, currently ranked, I think 35th, and they might even be better than that. So I think Army-Navy can win this one probably by 2 touchdowns or more.
Well, let's also look at another key. They put up 90 at their first 2 opponents. They put up 98 points, and their 2 opponents were held to 28 points, and that's a combination of both games.
Okay.
So that tells me that defense is stout, and that offense is going to be trying to score at will.
Yeah, you got to stop their quarterback and that running game with the Leatherman, Vincent Leatherman, 5 touchdowns so far.
Yeah, and Judah Bogard has thrown for 228 yards and 4 touchdowns. So between Leatherman and Bogard, they're going to be wanting to go to the air. They're going to want to go. They're going to run the rock. They're going to do everything they can do. It's going to be a tall order for the Norsemen, unfortunately. What I think Valhalla's got going for them, they do play at home. But it's going to be a real tall order. They will really show who they really are if they are able to even win this game by a field goal. But I'm going to definitely go with Army-Navy by 3 touchdowns.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay, Dave, next up, real tough order here for our West Hills Wolfpack. They're going to go on and take on that Mira Mesa team. Dave, the Marauders might as well apply for membership to the Grossmont Conference. So far, they've beat El Capitan 11-0. They beat Valhalla last week. They're taking on West Hills here. In 2 weeks, they'll play Grossmont. Maybe they can win the Grossmont Valley League this season, but they do host a struggling Wolfpack here right now. Mira Mesa, they should probably be a top 25 team. As I mentioned, we have them 28th here right now, and they've just allowed 8 points to those 2 East County foes so far. So Wolfpack will have to step up to outpace that number here. Wolfpack got beat by Holtville. That really caught us by surprise, right? Losing 44-19. We know that they were going to tough matchup last week against University City that beat them 35-7. But this is another tough one, Dave.
Well, and you remember it was kind of a couple of strange plays too in that game. The one we talked about, we featured on our show, was that run play that involved. Was it Jacob Romeo, and it was a run play to him at the 4, and I believe it was, but the officials called it a touchback. But I think it clearly looked like a touchdown, personally. What did you think?
Yeah, the angle was pretty tough there, but I don't know. Usually, in my experience, right in high school football, they usually rule those they kind of rule them touchdowns, right? We're not trying to split hairs here at the goal line, but it did put a little bit of a damper on. They could have used that touchdown there. I want to say thank you to my house store Dean back with us again here this season. He'll be at that Army Navy game. He's our Army Navy correspondent, I believe, and we know they got a great team. We've talked about him here a few times, I think, right, Dean, over the last year or two with a few matchups here. So I think this is going to be West Hills is going to need a complete turnaround to show us what they've got here. Now, Evan Dill, he's looked pretty good at quarterback so far with over 200 yards of total offense. And Romeo has a touchdown reception so far this season and rushed for over 100 yards. But they'd have to turn around offensively and they'd have to turn around defensively, if you know what I mean. Mira Mesa here looks pretty good so far. They look like I'll be real interested to see also that Mira Mesa Grossmont game coming up. So we'll see. Maybe West Hills can beat them up a little bit at least.
Well, let's not forget what we get out of West Hills almost year in, year out is they typically do have a great defense, though, or so it has seemed for the last several years. So for that amount of points to be scored is not very Wolfpack-like. But, you know, and just one play like that, like you said, that wasn't the only thing there. You know, and I talked to Christian Slavowski, and he's the as Coach Ash said, he's the leader of the team. You know, he had told me that they displayed some adversity, strong willpower. They played till the last whistle, and that's all they can do is improve and go out every day, get better. And for example, in their kicking game, tremendously improving their PATs and punt protection, as well as playing a step up on the defense compared to last week. So, and then, like you said, all we got from Dill was a scramble for a touchdown. So, to give the sole touchdown. So, Solo.
All right, I'm going to take go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just going to say I'm going to have to pick against the Wolfpack, and Mira Mesa is just too good in this matchup. And West Hills is struggling, I think, offensively, especially, and to be up against a team like this, it's going to be at least 3 touchdowns, and Mira Mesa takes this one.
Yeah, if the Wolfpack can keep it within 2 touchdowns, I think that'll be a minor victory for them here. Again, they play pretty tough schedule here, but you know what? It'll shore them up for the league. They're not done, even if this goes kind of awry here in the non-league season a little bit, because they're still going to be fine. Like I said, maybe I put them behind just because we haven't really seen them excel yet. But just keep building. Just try to keep getting better right now, because they certainly have the numbers, the talent to compete with the likes of Monte Vista, Santana, and Grossmont here. So just keep fighting. Don't get down, West Hills, right now. Keep going, because you know what? The league race is within reach still for West Hills once we get there.
And let's face it, you know, West Hills got the numbers too. I mean, they're one of the few schools that year in, year out for their football program, they have a freshman team, they have a JV team, and a varsity team. And a lot of our other smaller schools don't have that capability. So, you know, West Hills has been known for big football program, big football school.
All right, next up, Dave. The Elkhorn Valley Braves are going to be on the road taking on Canyon Hills. Another game that, you know, kind of concede. We said the Braves' first 5 games of the season provide the team the best chance to make a case for inclusion in the postseason. They've got to win some of these. Otherwise, you know, there are a few teams that don't make the playoffs, and you don't want the Braves to be in that. You want to at least give them a chance to get in the postseason, and we haven't seen a whole lot from them just yet. So they're up against Canyon Hills. The Canyon Hills program has been really nothing, you know, not the old Sarah Conquistadors. You know, it was kind of like the rebranding of the school kind of coincided with the demise of the football program a little bit as far as their success. We know that Sarah always hadn't been world beaters. They had their moments as the conquistadors, but they had been going downhill a little bit. And in fact, Canyon Hills had trouble winning games, but they've won a game now. They did lose to Santana in week 1, Dave, 30-0. So the week 3, though, provides another opportunity here for the Braves, but still, this one does feel like it's going to be a close game, but maybe Canyon Hills, they're coming off of a win 40-0 over Rock Academy. Rock Academy is in the 5 AA division, which is the division. They don't participate in the playoff format. They just do their own little tournament at the end of the season. With I think they have 10 teams or so in that division. So the Braves, Dave, have El Cajon Valley has junior Jean-Pierre Kashindi, who has 152 yards rushing and also has a sack. Also, they've been terrific in the secondary. Last week, senior Daniel Felix had a 64-yard interception return for a touchdown. The Braves led the game at halftime 7-6 last week. There, but oh man, they didn't get it done. So, what do you think here when El Cajon takes on Canyon Hills?
Well, with that secondary, I'm actually saying that is going to be the key to stopping and/or a scoop and score, some pick six. Maybe that will be the story for the Braves and the secret sauce, if you will, to overcoming Canyon Hills, because I mean, really, I think they're about even. And hey, something's got to give. The Braves have got to get a win, and I think something's going to give. And if anybody's going to win this game, it's going to be the secondary. I'm going to actually go out on a limb and say the Braves win by a field goal.
All right, go Braves. I'll take the Rattlers here because they're at home. They do have Mackay Fields Cook. He's rushed for nearly 200 yards this season. Josiah Singh has passed for 4 touchdowns here. I'm going to take Canyon Hills in this one. The Braves do have 3 interceptions so far this season. Okay, next up, Dave. Got 2 more here tonight, and that'll do it on the show.
And Grossmont's got the bye, everybody.
Grossmont's a team with the bye here. Grossmont Foothillers. I want to mention, Dave, the Grossmont College Griffins opened the season last week with a 64-0 win. Are the Griffins back? They did have a pushover of an opponent, but congratulations to Coach Mason Mitchell and the Griffins last week. 64-0. Victory over, they were in a matchup that they could win. I only mentioned Grossmont College here because the New View Bridge is going to take on Mountain Empire. Remember our buddy Jay Williams? He was from this high school, the old Grossmont College left tackle that went on to play at Florida A&M and at Florida State as well. So New View Bridge, though, they're not very good. They come in here taking on the Mountain Empire Redhawks. Dave, I talked with, exchanged some messages. We're going to get some better information now, I believe, from Mountain Empire here and their new head coach. Cameron Keller is the new head coach, and boy, Mountain Empire's kind of turned it around here, Dave. They're 2-0 for the first time since 2011. They finished 9-2 in that season, and they are reasonable favorites to move to 3-0 when they host New View Bridge of Nuevo here in Pine Valley. Last week, Mountain Empire won a thriller over Calipatria, 28-22 in overtime. Took a picture in front of the scoreboard after that one. You know what that means. You're feeling it. They also defeated Hamilton of Anza in their opener. Talk about exciting games, Dave. 28-25, 28-22. They probably scored 28 this week. Last week, Calipatria led 8-0 after the first quarter, and then 14-7 at halftime, and 22-14 after 3 quarters. But Mountain Empire tied the game in the fourth quarter to send the game into overtime. New View Bridge was just 1-9 last season. You know, Dave, Keller has turned around the program so much. Mountain Empire 4 years ago won 4 games. 3 years ago they won 3 games. 2 years ago they won 1 game. Last year or two games, and last year they only won 1 game. They've already won 2 this year. Ironically, New View Bridge, the same thing. 4 years ago, 4 games. 3 years ago, 3 games. 2 years ago, 2 games, and last year just 1 game. So yes, they have kind of the same trajectory, but right now, New View Bridge 0-2, Mountain Empire 2-0. Mountain Empire is going to win this game.
Yeah, obviously with the new coach Cameron Keller, seems to be having an impact. I mean, maybe it's exactly what they needed. I know that we had our share of at least 3 good, strong years early on, like 2017, 18, maybe 19. We had some couple of star players on defense and offense. They were, they weren't top talent, but they were pretty good, and they went to the playoffs. This might be a team that does the same thing. Then it looks like they're making noise already. So I look forward to even hearing from the Red Hawks. Maybe we can get them on, and it's nice to know that Jay Williams came out of there too. He was a great correspondent. Not only did he play at Grossmont College, but he was a great correspondent to exchange pleasantries and really give me the 411 on the games, if you will. But I'm gonna definitely take it. I'm a huge fan of a program small like this, similar to Elkhorn Valley, is Mountain Empire, way out there in the desert. But I'm gonna take Mountain Empire for sure by at least 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll hear from them. I've asked Coach to please send me what's going on. I believe they still have, remember Isaac Gonzalez, who has been with the team since his freshman year as a big player. And I said, Gonzalez really has a chance to set some records because of his 40. Now, he missed some time, I believe, with an injury in one of the seasons. We'll get more. We'll find out. But, Gonzalez, I believe, is on the team this year. And so that maybe they're a pretty good team right now, obviously. I'm going to take them here by a couple of touchdowns at least. Over
Maybe they'll be able to beat that H word that they have to face every year. Their big game, their rivalry, if you will, year in and year out, and that could be the game of the season.
Well, we'll see, because we already talked about West Hills lost to Holtville.
Yes.
44-9? What 44? They give it 44. So that would be something if Mountain Empire beats Holtville. We're gonna interview those guys. We're gonna do a whole show with them. So, Coach Keller, if you're out there, we're gonna get them. We're gonna get them, Dave. We're back with the Red Hawks right now. Hey, all it takes is a couple of wins to get everybody excited, especially me, with hooking up with the winners and getting some interviews.
Love those Red Hawks.
Okay, Dave, one more here, and it's going to be Foothills Christian. They're off to an 0-2 start, but you know what? They're in that 5AA division with Rock Academy, and if you look at the current ranking, the ratings system, the Max Preps ratings, Foothills Christian is still number 1 in that division. So no panic yet. The Knights have lost their first 2 games here, but they still are number 1 in the 5AA rankings according to Max Preps. But they are up against the likes of Calipatria, Mountain Empire as well in that division. So kind of interesting, right? You got Mountain Empire, you've got Foothills Christian. They're all in that little group of teams. This is called the 5AA division. They don't enter in that. Yeah, they don't enter in the group to get placed in the playoffs. They just play their own little playoff at the end of the season. O'Farrell's in there, Claremont, Palo Verde, Tri-City Christians in there, Maranatha, and Victory Christian. So you can see the type of teams that we're dealing with there. So Foothills Christian is definitely going to be live in a lot of these games against these teams. for sure. They still have plenty to prove here on a full-length football field at this point now at 0-2. They lost to Escondido Charter 42-6. They also lost to Hamilton of Anza 27-15, which was a little bit of a surprise. But senior Mason Wilborn is one of the state's top receivers so far with 18 receptions in 2 games, including a 75-yarder. Senior Jack Sudi has 150 yards rushing in 2 games. So I think Foothills Christian can win this game. Rock Academy doesn't look like they have much going right now, Dave.
Yeah, I definitely. I think Foothills Christian can get the win on this one, and they should be able to win by at least 10. Just update, since we're talking about football, it looks like we got a weather delay in Philadelphia. Probably lightning out there. They don't want to get the players injured, but got a weather delay.
Yeah, we would have known that. We could have done our show during the weather delay instead of missing the big football game tonight. But we'd rather talk high school sports with you guys for week number 3. Great job, Dave. Oh, did you pick the game? I got Foothills Christian by about 10.
Yep, I got them by 10 as well.
Okay. Foothills Christian, they've defeated Rock Academy. I think I covered it, right? I covered all those teams. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. That's fine and dandy. We'll get them next week with a win here. Thanks for joining us, everybody, on the East County Prep Football Report for week number 3. We covered them all. Let's try to win them all this week, Dave. Don't forget to join us. Dave and I try to get on the air as soon as we can, as soon as we get enough info from the games. Try to get on maybe 9:30, 10 p.m. Pacific time here and try to get on the air with all the highlights. So, hey, we want to hear from you, from your team. If you're on the road this week, I'm talking to you, Mount Miguel. I'm talking to you guys up in Seattle with Christian. Now we know Granite Hills is on Saturday night. That'll give you something to do, Dave, on your big screen there. Saturday night, watching the Eagles take on Perry there this week. So,
absolutely.
Talk about our sponsor, and great job, Dave. A great show this week, and thanks to everybody. We'll thank our man, My House Store Dean, in the chat. We know a lot of you are watching out there and can't comment or whatever. We really appreciate the families watching when they put Dave and I on their big screen and watch the show, so we can say your student athlete's name. Go out and make some highlights for us here. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. We will be that's a work in progress. Love to get that information out to you, and I'm going to try to get it out to all the coaches and to the announcers of each and every game, and get you guys, if you got video, if you've got photos, if you're on the field, if you're in the stands, we'd love every angle, and make sure you send it to us. We got plenty of on all the forums at Facebook, X, whichever you use. We'd love to have it, and we'd love to give you credit for it as well.
Yep, and there is other ways to get it to us too. You can participate. I endorse the ScoreStream app. I mean, I know that a lot of people use Max Preps, but there is a crowdsourcing app out there. If you haven't downloaded it, that gets the final score, gives you the scores from the other games. It's crowdsourced. There's an AI algorithm. You can't really cheat on it. You could put 100 to nothing. You could enter in your, it picks it up and gets rid of it right away. So you just go to ScoreStream. You'll see all of our matchups right there. Look, West Hills and Mira Mesa, Santana and Hilltop, Patrick Henry and Montgomery, Madison, not all county matchups too, but Helix and Saints, Elkhorn Valley, Canyon Hills. You can enter in your pictures in here too, and that'll get them to us. And also a way to keep up on the scores as well. You can type in what you saw at the game, things like that, or contact Dave and I. We're easily reachable here, and we want to include your team. We want the JV scores, freshman scores if we can as well.
Absolutely.
We just want to cover East County sports, and that's how we want to do it. And of course, we're also covering right now girls flag football. And man, this week, Dave, the Scotties and the Hillers were looking impressive. Helix has kind of been the big surprise. Grossmont's one of the top teams in the county, if not one of the top teams in the nation. San Diego is a little bit of a hotbed for girls flag football. And like I said, could we have an Olympian here next year, right? Because look, our student athletes are young. They could be Olympic stars in the future. Maybe not next year, but 4 years to come. This is a growing sport, Dave, and we're covering it here. So Helix beat El Capitan 20-13. Helix junior quarterback Kaya Merlo had a 63-yard pass to Serenity Williams in the opening minute of the game as Helix went on to beat El Capitan 20-13. Merlo had 3 touchdown passes, including a touchdown pass to Natalia Gonzalez and one also to Carrington Morris there. So check out our coverage on this website as well. We cover all the games as well, including Grossmont. They're one of the best teams. They beat Torrey Pines last week, 32-18. They've already won 10 games already this season. So Grossmont puts up some big numbers here so far this season. They're one of the best teams as well. So we want to hear from your flag football results. And we got our man Vic Morano out there shooting. Check him out on Instagram. Get all the, if you are a parent, you don't know, we're putting it on our website as best we can, but you can go to Vic Morano. I think it's LV Morano, Marano, and there are a lot of great pictures. You might have your student athlete, you might not know it, and you might find some pictures of your female student athlete and some great photography, Dave.
Absolutely, and I just wanted to mention too, you were saying the Grossmont team, and funny thing is, we got another Lawrence, the senior Lawrence, Coach Tony Lawrence, is what they refer to him as, and he's actually the coach of that Grossmont flag football team, and obviously the two of those guys, they know their football. And I'm not surprised that the girls' flag football from Grossmont is at the top.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, Dave. Earlier this week, a few more scores if I can, real quick. We'll get out of here. El Cajon Valley beat Sweetwater 33-12. It was also Steel Canyon beating San Diego Southwest 64-0, and Santana beat Valhalla in a Grossmont conference game 49-7. There were games right now, I think, going on. In fact, I think all the games are probably final. Monta Vista was playing a night game as well. All right. I want to thank our sponsors here, Dave, with Granite Mortgage and Lakeside Equipment. I want to thank everyone for watching the show, Dave, and we'll catch you this Friday. Make sure you join us, right, for the post-game show here. This is where we want you here on Friday night, right after the games.
Hopefully we'll have a bus rolling out of the garage, like I said. If not, we'll get you the highlights and the lowlights. But hopefully we can bring our bus out and talk to the actual players and get them on their phones and pass the phone around. And so that'll be a wrap. And thank you, PJ, for hanging out with us. And we always appreciate what you do in the East County. Always have. Appreciated you working with alongside my dad sometimes as well. And for Ramon Scott, I'm Dave Dickens, and we'll see you Friday night.